Submitting your cards to PSA has never been easier, and this new partnership with Gamestop changes the game. My name is Jonathan Miller here at Music City Games, and today we are going to talk about this brand new process where you can submit your cards to PSA directly with your local GameStop. What does this mean for the hobby? What does this mean for the everyday collector? And how does this change the landscape of grading cards as a whole? There's a lot of positives to talk about, and so let's get to it. Many of you out there have waited or maybe just avoided submitting cards directly to PSA because the process can be honestly a little overwhelming. If you've never done it before, or if no one's ever kind of held your hand or walked you through it, it can be a pretty hard process to get into yourself and just kind of learn. It's not that it's hard, it's just that it's a little overwhelming and has some very specific steps. And honestly, the process of finding what cards should maybe be graded or what to kind of look for, that can be difficult too. For the average person, grading cards is not something that you do. This new partnership with GameStop and PSA changes all of that. Outside of determining what cards you would like to grade, you bring your cards in a penny sleeve, in a card saver, or a semi-rigid case. You bring it to GameStop, they take a picture of it, they get you logged in, they take a couple pictures, press a couple buttons, submit the form, tuck it away, you're done. Like, that's literally, you pay for it right there, and then you're done. It's a really awesome process, but there are some small details on why it makes it so awesome, and I want to cover those right now. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the process with PSA, what your options are, what the Collectors Club membership does for you, essentially the easiest way that I can explain it is this. If you have a $150 membership with PSA, you have different options that you can submit and have special member-only pricing. But with GameStop, you don't have to have that membership, and the member-only pricing of bulked out submissions, meaning most of the time you're submitting 20 to 50 or more cards at a time, PSA says, hey, we're gonna give you a little bit of a discount. Instead of $25 per card, we'll give it to you for $15 per card or whatever. With GameStop, you only have to pay $16 per card, and there's no minimum required. So you could literally submit 3 cards for the bulk price of $16 per card. So already huge beneficial deal where you can just go through GameStop. You don't have to pay the $150 for the special bulked pricing, and you don't have to send a massive submission to get those bulked lower prices. So already off the bat, from being a cost-effective solution, especially for someone who finds the process overwhelming, it's incredible. On top of the $16 per card bulk pricing, you also have a flat shipping cost of $4.99 for the package, which if you're a pro member, that shipping fee gets waived. And for insurance, it's insured through GameStop. So if the package gets lost or whatever, you literally contact GameStop support and they get you sorted out. The process itself is also much smoother and far more streamlined than doing it yourself, to be completely honest with you. Again, like I said, you just show up with the card in a penny sleeve, in a semi-rigid case, you bring it to them, they literally scan it, they click some buttons, and they get it processed within like 10 minutes, depending on how many cards you have. So you don't have a PSA submission form, which is what you would have to do for yourself. It's just a little bit of a pain, especially for someone who isn't used to doing that type of thing. So going through this process myself, I really enjoyed how it was very hands-off. It is a really, really smooth process. And as far as simplicity goes, for the everyday collector, someone who's never submitted cards before, this is far and away the best service that provides a direct form to PSA. As far as how simple and easy it was and how accessible local GameStops can be, this is amazing. Now, this next part is my favorite part of the process, and this is what I did. So I did not have a GameStop Pro membership, but the membership is very straightforward. There's a handful of benefits, and if you're a gamer, a lot of the times you're buying games and you're trading games, then sure, there's good benefit there. But I don't really buy and sell and trade games like that, so I've never really had a GameStop Pro membership, but this Pro membership was $25. And it was awesome for me in this case. If I'm submitting to PSA through GameStop, let's say maybe, a handful of times a year, and then you can also trade in your slabs, and then you get a 15% bonus on that as a pro member. So what I did was I just took some of the smaller slabs that, maybe we didn't want anymore, or maybe were slow movers for us because we are a vendor and a Pokemon card dealer. We took some of those and basically used the value, the boosted trade-in value on some of those lower slabs, and that paid for the new submission that I was doing. I mean, it was close to 90% comps on those trade-ins. And maybe that's the case for some cards and won't be the case for others, but the cards that we traded in were nothing crazy, like, you know, $30 to $40 cards or whatever. And we got very close to that value. And so we were able to trade in some of our slabs, pay for the new submission, pay for the pro membership, and boom, the process was simple. It was really great. We were able to trade in one of the cards that paid for the membership. So I was literally doing a transaction to pay for the pro membership, and he was like, you want to scan one of these cards and pay for it? In the same transaction, I was able to just scan a PSA 8 base set 2 Zapdos that paid for the pro membership. So the money didn't even come out of our account. I mean, I thought that was really cool. Now there's a little detail and something really, really cool that you can do through GameStop that's important to note here. So if you're new to submitting cards, pay close attention to this next part because this is an important detail here. Submitting cards to PSA through GameStop is bulk pricing, meaning that you have a declared value of $200 per card. Now what that means is if you submit a card to get graded and it grades a 10 and it happens to be worth more than $200, then you will be charged a small fee for that card, assuming that card has a higher value. Let's say you submit a Gengar VMAX alt art from Fusion Strike and it gets a 10. Well, that's close to a $600 card, well over the $200 declared value of that card. Therefore, you will have an additional fee that will go on top. A lot of the times it's, you know, $15 to $25 or something like that, just to bump to the next tier. But the good news is with GameStop is that you can actually pay for that fee with a different card. So let's say in the same submission, you sent a card in and it got like a PSA 7 or 8, or it just got this really, really undesirable score and you're really upset about it and the value's pretty low. In that same submission, before your cards even come back from PSA to GameStop, you can literally tell GameStop, hey, I want to take this random card that's worth like 50 bucks or something because it graded really poorly. I want to trade in that card to you guys and use that value to pay the fee on my bigger card that graded highly. So GameStop truly makes the process of paying for these fees super, super easy to manage and very, very easy to deal with them. Now, of course, this led me to have a couple of questions. The first one was around insurance. What does it look like if I make a submission where I have over $1,000 in declared valued cards and it gets lost in the mail, or it gets stolen, or something crazy like that happens? Who's responsible? That part wasn't super clear in the terms and conditions, but what was reiterated by the employee was essentially the PSA submission will go and then come back, and if there's an issue, all of that is tracked by GameStop's corporate team. So they will see the issue there and they will contact the customer directly and say, hey, there's been an issue, we're gonna take care of it. While that was kind of a little sketchy to me, I was a little worried because I submitted some pretty big cards with them. But they said, you know, don't worry about it. If something happens to this package, we got you. Now, I didn't have to pay any extra insurance on this. Gonna be a little bit of worry there, but overall seemed to be pretty okay with what this process is gonna look like. The other question that I had was around the turnaround time. They didn't say it super clearly, but after asking some questions, it was clear that, for example, I only submitted 8 cards. So until that store gets 20 or more cards, they won't send the submission to PSA unless it hits at least 10 days from the submission date. I was told that by a GameStop employee. What I read in the email that I got confirming my submission said that I should get an update in 7 days. So I don't think that it's going to be a full 10 days. Even if they don't get 20 cards, they're probably going to send it within a couple of days. That would make the most sense. But if you're wondering like, okay, well, what happens now? How long until they send? That's going to be the process. So I would suspect that the 45-day turnaround, it's going to take every bit of those 45 days to get your cards back when you're submitting through a third party. So I'm okay with that. The trade-off of cost and benefit and ease and simplicity of the process of getting them submitted, it's worth the extra 5, 6, 7 days of if I had sent it on my own. I probably would receive it maybe a week sooner than I will submitting it through a third party. But to me, saving that money, saving that time and energy is well worth the trade-off. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this new partnership between GameStop and PSA. Have you ever submitted any cards? Do you plan on doing it now? What I would recommend is give your local GameStops a call. I had to call 3-4 GameStops before I found one that's actually doing it. They're still rolling this out, so give them a little bit of time, give them a little bit of grace through the process. It might be a little difficult to figure that out, but once you find one that does, it's a really smooth and really awesome process. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Before you get out of here, please drop us a sub if you are not subscribed to the channel. We do vendor POVs, buyer POVs, and all kinds of fun, random content. So if you guys enjoyed this one, give us a like as well, and we will see you in the next one.